Most people use AI like a smart typewriter.
Right, yeah.
They read files, they write emails, they do isolated tasks. But that only scratches the surface. What happens when the AI actually remembers how your business works?
Oh, it changes everything.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Our mission today is exploring a real masterclass. We are looking at transforming Claude Cowork.
Right.
We want to move it from a basic assistant to an automated system. We want a reliable engine for everyday business.
It is a complete architectural shift.
There really is.
We are going to trace that exact framework today. We start by building a really clean data foundation. Then we create the core context files.
Right.
After that, we examine how to route those files efficiently. Finally, we set up automated workflows in the cloud.
I am really looking forward to unpacking this because I still wrestle with prompt drift myself.
Oh, it happens to absolutely everyone.
It is incredibly frustrating. For anyone unfamiliar, that is when the AI slowly forgets your original instructions over time.
Yeah.
You start a chat, and it works perfectly. You establish the tone, you set the rules, then 50 messages later, it gets totally confused.
It completely loses the thread of the conversation. It hallucinates policies you never set.
Exactly.
It just reverts to that generic robotic voice.
It defeats the entire purpose of automation. You cannot build a business on a system that randomly forgets your company name.
Definitely not.
So to stop that drift, we must look at where the AI actually lives.
We have to fix the workspace itself.
Yeah.
People tend to treat AI chats like temporary scratch pads.
Right.
They dump information in, they get an answer, and they close the window.
Which means next time, you have to explain it all again.
Exactly. The framework insists we stop explaining things repeatedly. We need one main permanent folder per business.
Okay.
Or, if you run an agency, one main folder per client.
That makes perfect sense logically. If you mix clients in one space, the context window gets contaminated.
Highly contaminated. The AI tries to draw connections where none exist. It pulls a legal disclaimer from client A, then it tries to apply it to a casual tweet for client B.
Oh, wow. That's bad.
It gets very confused. So the structure of this workspace needs to be remarkably simple.
You organize it by fundamental business pillars.
You do. You set up folders for brand and customers.
Right.
You add products, projects, assets, and processes. That is it.
Keep the top level clean.
Keep it super clean. The source gives a very rigid rule of thumb here. Have you explained a concept to Claude twice? If yes, it needs to become a saved file.
That is a powerful rule.
Yeah.
It forces you to treat the AI like a new employee.
Exactly.
It is kind of like stacking Lego blocks of data. You would not verbally explain the company mission every morning.
No.
You would hand them an onboarding document.
You build a permanent library of truth. It saves so much manual effort down the line.
Yeah.
You stop rebuilding context from scratch every single time you open a chat.
I see the value there. But let me push back a little bit.
Okay.
I am thinking about my own hard drive right now.
It is a mess, I assume.
It is a complete disaster. What if I have a really messy existing folder structure? Years of overlapping client files.
Right.
Do I have to manually organize everything before I can even start this process? That sounds like a nightmare.
It does sound awful, but you don't have to do that. You can actually prompt Claude to design a clean structure first.
How does that work?
You feed it your messy directory list. It analyzes the chaos.
Okay.
Then it maps out a clean, logical folder hierarchy without deleting anything.
So ask the AI to map the mess before moving any files.
Precisely. It is entirely risk-free. You just review the proposed structure.
Right.
You check if the categories make sense. Then you approve it before making any actual structural changes.
Okay, so we have organized the workspace. The foundation is clean. Now we need to furnish it. We have to give the AI permanent memory.
I need to give it files it can reliably read. We do this by creating specific .n-d files.
These are markdown files.
Yes, markdown files.
Let us pause on that detail for a second. Why markdown? Why not just upload massive PDF files or Word documents?
Well, that comes down to how language models actually parse data. Word documents are full of invisible formatting code.
What do you mean by invisible code?
Underneath the text you see, there are hidden tags, tags for fonts and margins.
Oh, I see.
The AI has to read all of that hidden junk. It wastes valuable context tokens on formatting data it doesn't need.
It eats up the context window rapidly.
It does. Markdown strips all that away. It is incredibly lightweight, plain text.
So it's just pure data.
Exactly. It uses simple hashes and asterisks for structure. It is the native language of these models.
Okay.
So we build our core files in Markdown. The most critical one is the brandvoice.md file.
This captures the subtle elements, the tone, the phrasing, and the formatting rules.
It also captures the phrases you actively want to avoid.
Right.
If your brand never uses the word synergy, you put that in the file, it gives the AI a deeply stable personality.
That is brilliant.
Next, you build the visualidentity.md file.
I imagine that is vital for design-heavy tasks.
It holds your stable visual rules. It defines your exact hex codes for colors.
Right.
It lists your primary and secondary fonts. It details the logo placement rules. It even covers spacing and a general photography direction.
Then we move to the hard business facts.
Right. You create a company overview.m-d file. You add a products.m- file. Finally, a customer profile.m-d file. This gives the AI the literal facts of your operation.
There's a crucial distinction we need to highlight here, though. We have to keep temporary things out of these files.
It is a very common mistake. People put their current summer sale details into the main product file.
Seasonal campaigns and current inventory fluctuate. They do not belong in permanent memory files.
Temporary data becomes outdated very quickly. If you leave the summer sale in there, the AI will reference it in December.
That would be a disaster.
It degrades the reliability of the system. Keep permanent context in permanent files. Put temporary data in temporary project folders.
What happens when the AI is drafting something, but a specific piece of data is missing?
The source outlines a brilliant safeguard for this. You build a needs input section into your templates.
How does that work in practice?
If the AI cannot find the price of a new service, it does not guess. It leaves a placeholder in the draft.
Okay.
Then it flags the missing variable in that needs input section.
It stops the AI from hallucinating details just to please you. That is very clever.
It really is.
But I do have a question about that brand voice file. How does the AI handle different voices across different mediums?
What do you mean?
Well, a formal investor update sounds very different than a snappy Instagram caption. If we only have one brand voice file, does everything sound the same?
Oh, no. Claude records channel-specific differences in the brand voice file itself.
Okay.
You create subsections within that single markdown document. One section defines email tone. Another defines social media tone. It cross-references the task with the specific channel rules.
Got it. It maps different tones for different platforms in one file.
It handles the nuance beautifully. It reads the core personality, then applies the specific platform filter.
So, we have built all these great memory files, but this creates a new problem.
What is that?
If I ask the AI to write a simple internal Slack message, I don't want it reading the visual identity file.
No, you definitely do not. It would completely bloat the system. The AI would crash or slow to a crawl if it read every file every time.
It needs a traffic cop.
Which brings us to the routing layer. We introduce a file literally called CLAUDE.md.
Okay.
This sits at the very top of your workspace. It acts as the master router.
Think of it less like a librarian and more like a triage nurse at a hospital.
That is a much better analogy.
If you walk in with a sprained ankle, the triage nurse does not page the top neurosurgeon. They route you to the X-ray tech.
Right.
The CLAUDE.md file looks at your prompt in the same way. It says, this is an email task. Give me the brand voice file.
Exactly.
Keep the visual design file in the filing cabinet.
It explicitly tells the AI which context files to reference for specific categories of work.
It separates content tasks from design tasks.
It isolates business research. It completely prevents data duplication in the context window.
It makes everything faster. It keeps the output highly accurate.
It is the critical piece.
I am curious about overlapping data, though. What happens if two context files actually have conflicting information?
That happens a lot.
Right. Say the product file lists the price as $50, but a recent project brief lists it as $60. How does the triage nurse handle that?
That is where the router really proves its worth. The CLAUDE.md file establishes strict priority rules for conflicts.
Oh.
You program it to always trust the project brief over the general product file if dates overlap.
The router acts as the ultimate tiebreaker for conflicting data.
It prevents the AI from freezing up or combining the numbers. It gives it a clear hierarchy of truth.
We have the permanent memory, we have the routing mechanism. Now we have to make it actually execute the work.
We turn recurring business processes into Claude skills.
Right.
You take a manual workflow you already do every week, then you map it out structurally. You cannot just tell the AI to do my job.
You have to outline the goal. You define the exact trigger.
You list the step-by-step logic. You specify which apps it is allowed to touch.
Let us walk through a very specific example from the source. The weekly Friday supplier risk check.
It is a tedious manual task.
It is a perfect use case for a Claude skill.
It really is.
I am trying to picture the reality of this. Real business data is incredibly messy.
It is usually a complete disaster.
Right. You have a Google Sheet for purchase orders. It probably has 20 columns.
And half of them are missing data.
Exactly. Half of them are formatted inconsistently. Someone typed a date in European format. Someone else just wrote next Tuesday.
Then you factor in the email threads. Suppliers do not write neat, structured updates.
No, they send a 3-word reply from a warehouse floor.
Shipment delayed, sorry. That is all you get.
So how does this skill actually parse that chaos?
The trigger hits on Friday morning. The skill directs Claude to read the shared Google Sheet.
Okay.
It uses its natural language processing to understand the messy date columns.
It deciphers the next Tuesday comment.
Yes. Then it cross-references those PO numbers with the messy Gmail threads.
It reads the unstructured Thunder email. It identifies the PO number. It spots the delay.
Right, and then it compares that delayed date against your upcoming product launches.
It does all of this analytical heavy lifting in seconds.
It flags any delays actively threatening a launch. Then it drafts a short risk summary.
It lists the core issue.
Yeah.
It notes the expected financial impact. It recommends a specific action to take.
And it does not just fire off angry emails to your suppliers. There is a crucial safeguard built into the skill architecture.
Okay.
It mandates a hard stop for human approval.
It drafts the warning email, but it waits for you to click send.
It leaves the draft in your outbox. You review it, tweak it if necessary, and approve it.
Whoa, imagine scaling to 1 billion queries. Or even just having it perfectly manage a massive global supply chain.
The efficiency gains are staggering. You do the hard structural thinking once. You map the messy reality of the workflow. Then the AI manages that chaos forever.
But let me ask about technical reliability. What happens if the Google Sheet API is down?
Yeah, that happens.
Or what if it simply cannot access the Gmail thread during the Friday check?
The framework is very strict on this point. You explicitly instruct the skill logic to handle blind spots.
Okay.
If a data source is offline, it must flag the unavailable source clearly. It cannot try to guess the vendor's status based on last week's data.
So it admits it can't see the data instead of hallucinating answers.
It prioritizes absolute accuracy over just giving you a completed summary. It tells you exactly where the chain broke.
Sponsor. Okay, so building a skill is incredibly powerful. But you still have to manually click start every Friday morning.
Right, which is still manual.
How do we take this to the final level? How do we make it truly autonomous?
We move into scheduled tasks. We take that supplier risk check skill and we move it to the cloud.
Let us define what in the cloud actually means here. We're not talking about literal magic.
We're talking about API bridges. Tools like Zapier or Make.com, they act as the connectors.
Okay.
They sit on a server waiting for a specific time.
Your permanent context files just need to live somewhere accessible to those APIs.
They need to be in a shared Google Drive or a Notion database. If the workspace is online, the automation tool can read it.
Right.
It triggers the skill at 9 a.m. every Friday. It pulls the data, runs the analysis, and drafts the email.
It does all of this while your laptop is totally closed.
You could be on a flight. You could be asleep. The system runs on external servers.
You wake up, and the analytical work is already finished.
The system only pings you when it hits that required human approval checkpoint.
You just get a Slack notification.
Yes. You check the drafted email on your phone, you hit approve, and the crisis is averted before you even get to the office.
I do have one final technical question, though. If I move this process to Zapier, do I have to rewrite all the logic? Do we have to rebuild the skill for the scheduled task to understand it?
Not at all. The scheduled task is just an API call. It simply points to the exact Claude skill and the existing context files you already perfected.
It just presses play on the system you already built.
It leverages the exact same triage nurse and memory files. It just operates on a timer.
Okay, let's pull this massive architectural shift together. Building a highly reliable AI setup doesn't have to be overwhelmingly complicated.
It requires discipline, not necessarily complex coding. It relies on a very simple progression of truths.
You organize the workspace. You save permanent context once,
Mm.
you use a router to manage the token limits, you build a reproducible skill, finally you attach it to a cloud schedule.
You stop treating the AI like a disposable typewriter. You start treating it like a structural component of your business.
Right.
It becomes a system that actually remembers how your company operates.
It reduces repetitive manual work in a way that feels almost alarming.
It shifts your daily focus entirely.
It really does. And that leads us with a final thought to mull over.
Yeah.
If the AI can context switch seamlessly, if it can route its own data to manage token limits, and if it can parse messy business spreadsheets while our laptops are completely closed, what does our daily work actually look like when our main job is simply acting as the final human approval node?